Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cyber Ranges Uncovered. In this episode, we're joined by Bodis, founder and CEO of YellowCube, a cybersecurity distributor and training provider working across Central and Eastern Europe. Today, he'll share his perspective on how we bridge the cybersecurity skills gap in a rapidly evolving threat landscape. Akos, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and YellowCube?
I'm Akos Bodis. I'm the CEO and founder of the YellowCube Group, which is a distribution company working in 22 smaller countries in Central and Eastern Europe. We started 20 years ago. We started with simple antivirus solutions, and we lived through the evolution and the sophistication of cyber defense.
Let's dive right in. From the early days of antivirus solutions to today's complex cyber ecosystems, what first drew you into cybersecurity, and what's kept you here through all the change?
Back in the days, we didn't really have a Eastern European software sales or not even the availability of most applications or most vendors. So we pretty much copied all the products that we could, which wasn't really a legal problem back in those days. But we really quickly realized that we cannot just copy and take antivirus products without the vendor's approval, because then we won't get any updates, and the actual product will not perform well against the latest threats. I started to work as a graphic designer for a local antivirus company, so I could get their antivirus product free of charge. And that was the very, very simple and practical reason how I started with cybersecurity. Then, of course, this whole world expanded.
I think it's a very practical and relatable start to a career. So you mentioned that YellowCube started as and is a cybersecurity distributor. It's also my understanding that in the meantime, you've become a training vendor. Maybe you could shed some light on that and tell us what made you decide to take that step and how it reflects the changes you've seen in the industry.
If I jump back 20 years and I think about the simple antivirus days, it was pretty easy to explain that if you want your computer, your device protected, then you just install an endpoint security product. There wasn't really a skill gap. There wasn't really any configuration, know-how to transfer, and you didn't really have to understand much about cyber risks or malicious applications, other than it will spread if you're not stopping them. But if you do something to stop them, then you will probably be safe. As we realized that 100% protection is not possible, and we have to think about detection, we have to think about response, we have to think about cybersecurity as a process, a continuous process of evolution. It also means that it keeps continuously getting more and more complicated. That means at some point, and 20 years is an excellent time span for this, in 20 years it's very visible that the skill gap is becoming huge between the complexity of modern cyber defense solutions and cyber defense ecosystems and the knowledge of people who pretty much get used to installing a simple application on their device to protect their devices, and they don't invest the time, they don't invest their efforts into understanding this complexity. So the skill gap is just kept getting bigger and bigger, and obviously after decades of trying to solve this with easy products and at simple workshops, we realized that the trainings are absolutely necessary, and it's an essential part of the future of cybersecurity.
I'm glad that you brought up a skills gap, because I think, just as you were pointing out, it's safe to say that that gap has widened dramatically as the industry has matured. In your view, what would you say is driving that gap, and what makes it actually so difficult to close?
The complexity comes from the way, the technical details, how these different solutions work, and also in the marketing details. You can see a lot of marketing messages getting mixed up. So there is a huge skill gap even in understanding what cybersecurity is. There's a big problem with decision makers not getting the depth of the actual product or the actual solutions. But on the technical side, on the operator side, the skill gap is now absolutely huge compared to the simplicity that we had decades ago.
Let's start with the big picture. You've been in the cyber field for more than 2 decades and have watched it grow from simple endpoint protection to a multi-layered, highly specialized industry. What would you say are some of the most dramatic changes you've seen in how we approach cybersecurity today versus 20 years ago?
The most important changes are definitely on the knowledge and the level of knowledge that you really need to create a working and optimal cybersecurity stack or defense stack. So it's from device management to network security, to cloud security, to understanding the depth of how your employees and your organization is working, where the data is moving, and who are the key stakeholders, where you have the weakest links in this digital estate is really, really complex. For example, if I may refer to one advice or one interview that a NSA director told us, the point there was that the NSA is so successful in cracking networks because they know your network better than you do. And I think that really highlights this complexity that a operator or anyone joining a company as a security person will need to spend a long months or even a year understanding just the organization that is joining, just to have the understanding of what needs to be done and how to do that the best possible way.
I think complexity is the key word here, right? So in terms of both technology and complexity, why do you think that the evolution of the industry has in fact widened the cyber skills gap rather than shrinking it?
Of course, the criminals or even the nation state-backed attackers, they only do the minimum that they have to do to achieve their goals. So if you have a rather simple protection, then of course the cyber criminals will not spend more time breaking into that network than what's needed just to bypass those simple protections. So in this cat and mouse game, the attackers always come up with new ways of attacking the network. We always come up with new ways of defending, but we also have to keep the old ways in line. And at some point, we have to sometimes summarize or combine these defenses or switch to newer generations of products. But it just keeps increasing this complexity further and further. So we just cannot get rid of what we did 20 years ago. It's a never-ending evolution, and we're building a complex system as the attackers are looking for the newest ways to exploit them or to go around or bypass these protections.
As the threat landscape evolved, so did your business. YellowCube moved beyond distribution and into training, which one could argue is a major shift. What made you realize that training needed to become a part of this core part of your offering, and what gap were you seeing in the market that you specifically wanted to fill?
At YellowCube, we always focused on the security outcomes that we can provide to our customers. And with a simple product, with the right approach, we can actually deliver really good working security. But at some point, we realized that we just cannot go on without any further training capabilities. That was the point when we expanded into spring trainings, and we're also taking a distribution approach. So I would say we're rather focused on delivering cyber ranges as a complete solution for training centers than doing the trainings ourselves, of course. So we're still distributing, but we're distributing trainings as well, as they are just as essential as an XDR these days.
What would you say has surprised you most in launching and scaling your business, specifically from a training perspective, across sectors like defense, education, and enterprise?
So we decided to work with cyber ranges because they have this focus on developing competencies. And with the right mapping of a certain competency to a certain job position or to a certain certification, for example, it's quite easy to do. So what I really like about cyber ranges is that we're really building different skills. And when you require a certain skill to fulfill a new position, then we can give you the right skills and you can combine that in your real life work. Or if you want to do a certification, that will just have to give you a different set of skills that will provide you the knowledge you need to pass those certifications. So this focus on developing skills and core competencies is what is really attractive about cyber ranges. And with this more universal approach, we can really customize our trainings per different sectors, per different job positions, or different certifications.
Would you say that a platform like Cyber Ranges specifically has helped you deliver more meaningful learning experience across these different audiences? And if so, how has that potentially differed from law enforcement to student?
One of the key concepts with Cyber Ranges is that we let people develop their skills at their own pace. So for example, 10 years ago, it was really not a problem to do a 3-day or 5-day firewall-oriented training. Because the engineers could come and spend the whole week listening to us. But now it's absolutely not a reality. So we have to provide a platform, provide a solution that is letting the students progress in their own pace, do a training in 30 days or 3 days, depending on their availability of time, and basically do it at home in a virtual environment.
It's also my understanding that you've worked with military and government agencies, and that all of these environments come with pretty strict IT policies, limited permissions, and high stakes. So what would you say are some of those key big challenges in delivering cybersecurity training to law enforcement or defense forces?
With law enforcement and defense and government agencies, it's always about trust. So that is why if we can offer our training center in a box, our cyber range on premise at the customer with the right content, then we can really make the right difference. If we insist on in-person trainings, in this complexity of traveling, time allocation, that really makes trainings very difficult in 2025.
How would you say that cyber range environments help solve those constraints, especially when users can't install software or modify systems?
Right, well, it's everything running in a browser, so luckily you don't have to hack your own machine. You just need a standard network access to access the cyber range, and that is why it's called a cyber range, because it has the entire virtual infrastructure of the attackers, of the defenders, the entire scenario that you want to learn. And you can practice, you can repeat, you can jump back to different snapshots. So it's just so much more flexible. It's a bit like virtualization and physical servers. So with virtual servers, obviously change the industry. The appearance of virtualization definitely changed the industry.
How would you say that YellowCube is adapting its distribution solutions and training programs to meet such a diverse range of learning goals and technical maturity?
As we were discussing before, it's very important that Cyber Ranges is able to develop different skills and competences that we can map to these different industries, to different certifications needed there. So we are not focused on training a new cyber expert for just one specific domain, but rather we're trying to give them those 8, 9, 10 skills that he needs to be a very efficient professional in that domain. Most of the training, I would say 90% of the training, is not specific to a certain certification or a learning path, but it's developing a core skill that you will need anywhere you want to work in cybersecurity.
And I would say that one of the biggest hurdles and issues that there is even when people are applying, despite certifications, despite badging, despite all of this very important skill development towards being able to actually adequately fulfill these job positions, there seems to be a lot of gray area in actually being able to verify that. I'm curious if you could shed some light on what you would say are some of the ways that we can measure those abilities in today's modern workforce.
Luckily, measuring the efficiency of the training is quite easy. Also, the gamification concept helps a lot. And we have leaderboards, we have drills, we have different races between teams, hackathons, and so on. So we can definitely create a competitive environment and make sure that we measure the development of skills quite visibly and quite easily.
What do you think it will take realistically to make a long-term impact on the cybersecurity workforce shortage?
I think regarding the cybersecurity skill shortage and the skill gap, I'm not sure if it's widening or we're trying to narrow it down and we're getting closer to solving it. But without trainings, I'm pretty sure that the widening would be exponential.
How do you see YellowCube and Cyber Ranges working together in the future to scale access and raise readiness, specifically across Central and Eastern Europe?
YellowCube is always focused on the practical security outcomes. So as long as trainings will be essential or will be an important part of cyber defense, Cyber Ranges will be an important vendor for us. We also have this focus of working with one solution per domain, and we made our decision working with Cyber Ranges based on the package and the complex solution that they are able to deliver. This relationship will only get closer and more intensive for the foreseeable future.
And with that, we've wrapped up another episode of Cyber Ranges Uncovered. Thank you to Akos for sharing his perspective on how the cybersecurity skills gap has evolved and what it takes to bridge it across defense, education, and enterprise. Eager to catch more insights? Be sure to follow Cyber Ranges on LinkedIn and check out our website for this and other expert episodes. Thanks for watching. See you next time.